Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another exciting Propagandacast with me, your host, Imperial Dane, Master Propaganda, Hero of Sight, Defender of the Fatherland. We're off here to 1 vs 1 on Holotny Inferno. Between the West, we got Jove fighting for the Wehrmacht, Germany, Deutschland, taking on the role here of the Panzer versus in the East, we got Dave fighting for America, freedom and democracy here, taking on the role of the 1st Armored Division. We got Mobile Defense, Lightning Wall, and Elite Troops with Triple Infantry versus Dave's Airborne, Armor, and Heavy Cavalry with munitions, caches, grenades, and infantry bulletins. Dave aiming here for a 2 rifle start here versus Joe, who's going for 2 grenadier starts. So both players in this case aiming for infantry heavy builds. Though of course Dave's going to have an advantage here since of course he doesn't have to build a building to get his basic infantry out there. So Joe will be falling a bit behind there. A bit behind versus Dave in the early game. Bit back wire here in the south to help defend the fuel point, rather than going straight for the CoH point, and rather than northwards. In this case, you can sort of call it more sort of efficient camping roll down. There's some ways you can sort of try and, just go straight for a fuel point, and then sort of just grab the strategic point, which do happen to get captured faster. Those are remaining, so that way you can sort of just grab them at the same time. Oh, Dave! No! No! This is not quite being efficient there, Dave. That's not quite efficient. Maybe American efficient, but not German efficient. We got Sam Max down there, and we got Raf Grenadiers saying northwards there. More Grenadiers for Joe. Joe going for a really heavy Grenadier build. Could be planning here tier 3 rush versus Dave. Even then, you'd normally go for an MG42, I feel, but could be planning that. Either way, Dave just continuing with the rifleman there. First shots fired up here. Grenadiers falling back towards the house. They're going to need support from more Grenadiers. And there we go, but they'll be beleaguered here, besieged by riflemen. My god, you can say outside. Yeah, I know that. Be under fire from some, you idiot. Sandbags down there, more Grenadiers running here for Jove and the Panzer Division. And the south, we have some securing points there. Riflemen sending out here. Riflemen thinking about there, and we got the 3rd squad heading northwards there. Will Dave be going for a quick lieutenant? Will he be going for more riflemen? What will Dave be doing? And for that matter, what is Jove doing as well? And there's certainly a few questions that can be asked here. And there we go. It's now going for the MG42. Otherwise, it does seem like a weird choice to go for 3 Grenadiers, then an MG42. Again, more efficiently, you want to go for the MG42 and then Grenadiers, because that way you can sort of use your resource in terms of time also a bit more efficiently. But Jove, in this case, aim for a more Grenadier heavy build before then going for the MG42. Curious there. Grenadiers up here for rifle. Rather getting some damage there before they get close with the promise. Up close, they very much have a much higher DPS than the Grenadiers. So this is going to come down to, alright, some RNG like that, for example. Even then, the rifle might still be able to pull through, because again, they can also cut down the Grenadiers fast enough. Again, they do overall, again, just enjoy twice the DPS than the Grenadiers squad up close. That's something there to keep in mind again. They can just completely just outfire them. Pioneers can help in those engagement, of course, since the Pioneers do a lot of damage. The problem is, in this case, the Pioneers have spaced them out in one of the worst ways possible. You're with the submachine gun, Fritz. Get up close. You can't hit them at that range. Oh, my God. That was pretty bad that the Pioneers decided to get just half the unit pops backwards there again. Otherwise, you probably could have dealt with the rifle in there more easily. Dave, they're going for the ambulance, and we also got the lieutenant here. Dave's certainly a fan of lieutenants. He does occasionally go for the captain, but overall sort of been increasingly, I think, going for the lieutenant here again, opting for more aggressive plays against his opponents. Jove there with 3 Grenadiers, 142 rifle, managed to capture the point rendered neutral. One counter move at this stage could be just going mobile defense using counter tactics to rapidly regain it, though obviously that was to lock him in there, and certainly I wouldn't recommend it, but he could do it. Take up there for Jove, 3 Grenadiers, 142 as a 3 rifle and a lieutenant. Bit risky, maybe. We'll have to see how that works out for Joe, but he's certainly pushed on the defensive here by Dave so far. Dave's aggressive maneuvers there hurting Joe a bit. Again, the lack of machine guns, so that way, quickly just decisively, decide engagement and push back. Dave's infantry there is also making it a bit harder for Joe, because of the Grenadiers. Again, in particular because of the way he split them up, they aren't really very favourable versus the rifle. Again, it only works with the rifle deciding to voluntarily stay at range, which is always one of those things that doesn't really work. I mean, it didn't work for the false Grenadiers in Companies 1. It sure as hell's not going to work for the Grenadiers in Company Heroes 2. I mean, again, if any sort of chance for your units depends on your opponent willingly staying at range, you've got a problem. That's again the sort of reason you need the MG42 out as the Wehrmacht versus the Americans. Gunners are taking a few hits there, a few losses for you, so thinking about in the south there. A lot of pressure here. Overall, not an engagement. I think it's going to be too fair here for Jove, and the only way you can sort of return if you got a mortar or began rifle grenading, just Dave wasn't paying attention. Otherwise, I'm not entirely sure this is going to be working out frightfully favourably there for Jove in the longer run. But still, he's got a bit under pressure. He needs to get a light to make a nice company up there. Or he needs to go for something now. I mean, elite troops, G43s, sneaking in some stormtroopers could actually be quite efficient there for Jove. I mean, suddenly ping with a stormtrooper squad, which essentially is a tougher grenadier squad. I mean, they have actually more sort of received accuracy bonuses than panzer grenadiers. I mean, they're kind of sort of reasonably tough in that way and can sort of deal with the rifle more aggressively. Plus, in this case, you'd have cluster grenades as well. So if the rifleman tried to get close, he could actually punish them. Again, if the gunners could also then do that. Well, we got the infantry, we got the rifleman, we got in the open there. Bit more risk there for Dave, but he does protect his core front. But again, Dave hits the fuel point up there, and Jove just hasn't taken up. I mean, he's trying to take as much territory as possible, but at the same time, it is leaving a lot of his other points vitally open, and more importantly, it's denying him tech, which he really needs versus Dave, who's now going for the anti-aircraft half-track. He should retreat the Pioneers, maybe lay down some S-mines first, but otherwise get the Pioneers back, begin taking up there, because right now, Dave is hitting him very hard and very unpleasantly hard. Noting though that both players have yet to go for Doctor. And also note here, Dave uses ambulance more aggressively than most other players, but again they'll just stick in the base. Dave tries to keep it close to the action, but that way he can just reinforce the troops and more easily just support them. Looks like Jove's got a bit of an overload there. There's several units again that just haven't been doing anything for some time. Grenadiers, Pioneers seem to have forgotten there, but right now up and open versus the MB-42. Shots fired, quickly dodging about there. Bit dangerous, you need support there. They're certainly looking pretty rough here for Jove, and there we go, we got the anti-aircraft half-track around there for Dave, and the 1st Armoured Division of the Panzer here struggling heavily versus the Americans. Like to make a nice company, finally going up for Jove there. And then MB-42, they're suppressing rifle, but again, it's just getting hit by so many. He needs to retreat here, he needs to retreat soon. I mean, had he had the Pioneers up close, it was putting an S-man there around here, meaning the MB-42 would have been a lot harder to just swarm. But there you go, forced retreat, Lieutenant Munez really got... Ah! Oh dear, he wiped it. Pretty big loss there for Jove. Pretty big loss there for Jove. He's finally got the like to make a nice company at rifleman out in the open there, ceasing the MG-42 away from Jove. He got a 2-2 on way rifle gate going off. Oh dear. This is looking rather bad, if not disastrous, for Jove at the moment. I mean, Dave's really got the hold of him. But again, it was to the extent just that moment there where Jove just didn't seem to be doing an awful lot there. But also just failed to take up in time. Again, attacking is just one of those things you really just have to nail as the Wehrmacht. You can't afford to fall behind for him in a moment. Which again highlights some of the unfortunate issues with the Wehrmacht at the moment again, which tend to be one of the reasons I think, just people tend to just consider it a bit weaker in some ways. Well, again, if you go for a sufficient heavy one, you can just delay it a bit better. But again, Joe went for sort of a light tier 1, but at the same time didn't sufficiently then take up fast enough. And I think that sort of rather gave Jove here the problem. Now he's going for the 2-2 straight against the 15. Problem is, head on, the 2-2 stands no chance. If you can catch it from another side, it's pretty good, but head on, no. Need to pull back the 2-2, get it fixed up. Gonna just occupy in the centre. We got a sniper out here to try and bleed out Dave that way. In the south, their movement's going through Rieson's lieutenant. We got troops reinforcing heat. Oh, wait, what? They're retreating? I'm guessing that's a misclick there from Dave. Or it's because he's just unlocked the weapon racks and just wants to upgrade them. That makes sense then. As for Jove, he needs to do something rather clever here. I think he needs to try and regain initiative here versus Dave, or at least sort of stagger Dave rather aggressively, because right now Dave's got a very strong hand. Again, he's got the vehicles, he's got the infantry, he's got machine gun from Jove. He's about to get BARs, which would only further just make the rifleman much more punishing to fight against. And Jove has yet to choose his doctrine, he's yet to get any upgrades on his grenadiers. There's not really much going on there. There you go, getting flanked by the lieutenant. And we got some Samex down from Jove here and there, but it's just not going to quite cover it. There we go, M15A1. One there striking against the Grenadiers, trying to get the munitions. He got the fuel point back. Again, the 2-2 also fixed up. Dave leading another assault pack 40 round there for Jove. Not far no lieutenant. Sniper needs to be careful. There you go, forced to wait. Got the 2-2 moving southwards. Going to try and engage and support there. Up north. Grenadiers, Pioneers breaking through. We got the M15. We got a big push here from Dave into the centre against Jove, and Jove is just lacking the crowd control tools. Again, he's got no machine guns to really sort of halt this move from Dave slowing down, and certainly the M15 would have made it difficult to use an MD42, to be honest. Gonna try and sort of rush it. I promise it's gonna be rifle nearby with the anti-tank rifle grenades. In this case, it just turns about here. Nice swing there with the M15-1, knocking out the 222. Bit of a loss there for Jove and Germany. Northern victory point almost secured there. So now we're moving ahead. And is there laying down the bunker. So it is now the ones being besieged here by the M15-1. We got more rifle moving in, plus the reaction there to try and assist in the flushing out. Grabbing the northern fuel as well. Jove really in a bad spot here versus Dave. We could end up being forced having to go for mobile defense on the Pumas, so that way at least try and deal with the M15A1. I mean, I don't really see many other options for Jove at the moment, because he is in a pretty awkward spot there. So now we're clearing out some of the riflemen. That's a small bit of relief here. Trying to get the M15-1 out of the pack, can't quite hit them. He's getting shredded out in the open, weren't able to get within range to get the Panzerfaust off before they got hit there by the suppressive fire. There we go, got a hit, almost got it, but no mines blocking the retreat path here. So he's sort of broken off Dave's assault for this time, but Jove needs to, you know, somehow again turn the tide around versus Dave a bit more decisively. Otherwise, I don't think he's going to last much longer. Dave there upgrading the lieutenant with another BAR. Good work again. A lot of players, I find, never upgrade the lieutenant with another weapon, despite that being a pretty good idea. Still no infantry upgrades for the Grenadiers. No G43s from either of those doctrines or light machine guns. But there we go. Something's happening. In this case, equipping his most veteran Grenadiers with the LMD-42 is definitely a good idea. Going for a multi-top counter his own machine gun, of course, just provide more fire support versus Dave infantry. Not a bad idea either. Could grab the munitions back, getting the fuel pump back for the umpteenth time. Some S-mines early there I think could have done a lot to slow down Dave's harassment on the fuel point. Though, of course, he does have minesweepers. I mean, obviously against a Wehrmacht player, expecting mines is a good idea, but even then, just having a load of S-mines here and there, it just makes it a lot harder for them to harass without having to get them there. And then, of course, if he's using those to harass, you can isolate them and murder them, denying him his minesweeper. Nice move with an M42, pushing back Jove's Grenadiers there again, swinging up through here. I mean, he's got the mortar now, but he might also really consider, you know, another MG42, because again, the way Dave's attacking, again, he's sort of going very aggressively for the centre, realising again that Jove tends to leave that one rather exposed, and lastly is able to consistently punish it, Jove, for that one. And here we go, hitting the Pack 40 to try to get back towards the base there. But there you go, within range of the machine gun bunkers defending the base. Worked out there for Jove, however briefly. Defending the car fort, and they're desperately mortified. They're landing the lieutenant, getting a good hit in. Still no doctrine from Jove. No choice, no decision. Neither though from Dave as well. There you go, Pack 40 shoots, and now virtually 2 M15A1 racing going straight for the fuel. Mortar blasting away there for Germany. No tech up. Rifling up there. Got grenades out now for Dave as well. Jove dodges that one. Not dodges, but dodges that one artfully. Dave has already taken up here as well. So again, he's really got a lead here with Jove, and he's just pushing it constantly, just further harm and just dominate Jove. You're sneaking in some grenades in there just to keep up momentum while he then aims for the armor. Almost got the vehicle crew here. I mean, if you could have gotten that vehicle crew, that would have been beautiful, Jove, for Jove, because that way he could actually garden the M15A1 and turn that against Dave. But he does seem to be slightly having a bit better luck now. He's sort of organised better. He's going for Panzer Grenadiers. Still no doctrinal choice for Jove, though. Still no doctrinal. Could be playing there for the Tiger plan already now. Not entirely sure I'd go for that, but we'll have to see. All the way closer to getting the M42 back, almost, but no. Oh, he got it, But the question is, can he get within range? You can see all the Dave's all running up the half. He's got a lot of infantry there, which couldn't even sort of block that from being captured by Jove. He can't push the Pack 40 ahead either because it's too low on health, and moving that in there would be completely suicidal. You can see he's popping down a smoke screen to just cover it up here, in case. In fact, allows him to use the half-trick more aggressively there. Nice work by Dave. Pioneer's doing at least attempting something there, but it's not quite working out. And there he goes, going to try and grab the half MG42 back. He's got the half ambulance nearby, so again he can easily do so. Just reinforce right on the spot. And Pioneer's pulling back in, low health, low health. Joe really pushing his luck there, really pushing it. No tech up still for Jove. Oh, there we go. Yes, taking her up there. So it's not just going to rely on tigers, which I think would be bit risky, to put it mildly. There you go. Using race infantry crew. And again, with the ambulance nearby, he can just sort of fix it that way. So again, it doesn't even cost him a lot there. Quick grenade there. The Panzer going to disrupt out from Jove, but they're busy up north. They're harassing, securing territory. Then, of course, trying to keep up the victory points. He does end up going for mobile defense. He counters it and ends up going for mobile defense. Honestly, at that stage, you might have been better off just going for it sooner rather than waiting for it for now. And that just sort of feels like a bit late. I mean, you could have the Puma out soon to counter the M1501. And had Ostrom out to that way, quickly just build up field presence faster. But it looks like it's going to aim for the command tank. That's certainly one way as well. I mean, some players tend to use that, you know, as sort of a way of just trying to bail themselves out. You know, the Stuggy. Not the Stuggy. Though it is kind of like the new Stuggy. But basically the command tank to that way, you know, bail them out of sort of a bad situation here. So it's sort of the new Wehrmacht crutch, if you will. Again, I don't see a lot of players use it, though. But still, it does feel like the new Wehrmacht crutch against all its Commandora. There you go. Befehlspanzerwagen out here for the Panzer. We got the M15A1 just blasting away. Halfway to Veterinary 3, heading for the southern victory point. Really should consider some S mines though. Gonna do reinforcing. There we go. Befehlspanzerwagen out, and he should take up next though. Again, you can't really just rely on the doctrinal calling of mobile defense unless again your opponent is playing very aggressively and not too safely. David meanwhile here, playing it safe, going for a cash ahead there, fuel specifically to assist with armor. And there you go. He might finally get that M15A1. There we go. Main gun out. But of course, the 50 calibers can still fire. But there we go. Fire no more as it gets blown apart by the Panzer IV command tank. And these are firing us the advancing rifleman. Malta there with, what's it, 2 kills? Possibly. I'll let Panzer one down here. And now Dave does have a bit of a problem. He doesn't actually have any anti-tank. He can rush so fast ahead that he doesn't actually have any tanks. So there goes going for the Jackson again. Dave does love the Jackson tank destroyer. So there you go. Befehlspanzerwagen engaging here. Dave's beleaguered machine gun crew. Taking to the machine gun and main gun. The 75mm with a cannon there. Which was also the first one to be issued heat rounds during the war. I believe it could also be used to fire smoke rounds. I mean, the initial Panzer IV, which this one sort of resembles the most, was an infantry support tank. Thus, meant for providing support that way for the infantry. You know, again, with smoke screens or whatever else was needed. Of course, the war progressed and so on. Then they sort of realised that wasn't quite enough. Then they tried with heat rounds and ultimately just longer barreled guns. Now, by the way, the Panzer III's last model would be equipped with the same gun here as the early Panzer IV model, that is a 75mm gun. But again, would be pretty much relying on heat rounds to then deal with enemy armour. Even more fun fact, those Panzer III's would generally be issued to the early Tiger battalions, because there weren't enough Tigers. They would then be sort of issued a Panzer III to support and protect the Tiger tank, partly versus infantry, but also other threats. Another little fun fact there. But there you go, using counter tactics to rapidly seize the point fact, because now Jove's actually got most of the map here again. The command tank did a lot for him because Dave had no other anti-tank. In this case, tank shot, or sort of Panzerschreck, as the generals would have called it initially, before of course they equipped their own, you know, Panzerschrecks, if you will, sort of, you know, helped him through here versus Dave. So in this regard, Jove's able to achieve a bit of shock there, a bit of terror, and gain back the map. Though we can see Dave's actually gone for double fuel caches. I mean, Dave's really setting up for the long haul now versus Jove. Getting the cache there. Infantry firing around here. On this being surrounded. Sniper supporting. Pack 40 nearby as well. Going to try and knock out the fuel cache. But he risks losing the Pack 40 here and the Grenadiers. Oh! Nice use of an incendiary explosive round here to actually stun the force. They're lying the Grenadiers to barely get out of there. He's almost got the cache here, but it's not quite working out. He also might lose the Pack 40. But there you go. Command tank running its all, then retreating units. Shoots. Grenadiers falling back. Cache down. Panzer they're fighting. Need to be careful he doesn't get the wiped out and retreat as well. Pack 40 in trouble. There we go. White. Pack 4. Panzer 4 falling back here. Jove went ahead aggressively, but without any margin to clear up the retreat or anything, you know, to sort of slow down it. Dave just rushes through their bursts ahead. Like water through a dam that couldn't hold. No take up still for Jove. There again, he's got the resources now to take up. Hasn't gone for it, and small chance of losing the Pentagon, but did cut off Dave there. Did get one cache, so he's actually done some damage there to Dave now and the first armoured. Still no doctrinal choice for Dave, which is a bit unusual. I mean, Dave tends to find being a bit fast with doctrinal choices, but he might be less certain as what to do here versus Jove. He might be less certain. We got take up there for Jove again. Not just going to rely on the command tank of Pumas. Very sensible choice there. Again, it tends to be a pitfall a lot of players and even seasoned veterans fall into, but Jove is not one of those. That is good. And he also makes use of counter-attack tactics, which again most players end up going for this doctrine never utilise, but it is a pretty good ability. I still think Jove should try, you know, lay down some mines. Again, S-mines really are worth the munitions I find. I'll be movement here. Lieutenant Rifleman saying up north. Heading southwards there. And take up almost done, which case he can fill up the Supremo Corps. He could then rush out a Stug maybe, or Panzerfort to support the regular one. He could also go from the Ostwind to just counter the infantry first, but let's see how it works. But again, counter-attack tactics. He actually is using making active use of it against his opponent. That's great. And we do have some S-mines here, actually. We do have some S-mines. My god. That's good. But there you go. So that's a Supremo Corps next there. Jove, thus far to land. And there you go. Panzer 4 command tank setting out there. Panzer 4. Grenadiers being pushed back by the Riflemen. We got guys moving up. The Panzers then advancing as well. Those Riflemen will definitely not have a good day. Though with the BRs again, they can really do a lot of damage. There we go. Popping a grenade before retreating. With a Panzer fast trying to call for retreat path. Command tank supporting as well. Jove is really in control of the map here compared to Dave early on. Jove is stabilising, and the command tank is very much a linchpin. In fact, he can soon fill up with the Panzer 4 to support his command tank. Dave, in the meanwhile, going for Sherman tanks and hitting the southern point here. Southern fuel point sitting up here, hooking around there. Very nice move there from Jove. Very nice. Got the Pack 40 moving northwards. Troops are reinforcing healing. No further sign or anything there from Jove. Again, he's close to the Panzer 4. Though, of course, a Stug would not be a bad choice here either. Almost got the fuel from them before being gunned down, but they're going to do this light machine gun fire proving to be deadly accurate. And there we go, got the fuel before retreating. Alright, Leute, we did our work. Get out of there. Ah, scheiße, sie got Heinz. It's always Heinz, isn't it? Yeah, it's always Heinz. Or at least some guy named Heinz. Anyway, Sherman on the way there for Dave. Pack 40 there, pilfered. Again, that's a problem for Jove. Again, a Pack 40 is a pretty nasty thing to lose.
Tank support is here. Sherman ready.
They still got the mortar. Dave has not gone for any artillery, one should note. And the few S-mines that are being struck by, they've got Grenadiers counterattacking down south. Jove trying to actually gain parity there with Dave in terms of victory points. Actually pretty close there. He they engaged and taking several losses. And there you go. Jove aims for the Panzer 4 to support his Befehls Panzerwagen. And there's a need to retreat, the engagement with the Lieutenant and the Rifleman Sheln following up there. And there we go. Almost wipes the entire Grenadier squad. Quite a blow there to Jove's forces. Particularly if they drop the light machine gun. And oh, almost. There you go, command tank moving down, engaging here, misses. Just all got another Pack 40 out here, but that's not quite situation. Support here, the command tank or the Grenadiers. There you go, grenades going off, Grenadiers retreating, Sherman moving in. Panzer 4 almost done here. Getting rather close there. Shot bounces. Pack 4 needs to turn south, there we go. Mortar retreating, Jackson moves in there, command tank, veterans who won. Sherman moves out there, taking hit from the Pack 40, 75mm armor piercing rounds. Shoots. Not quite. There we go. Rushing for the Pack 40. Pioneers moving down to try and screen it off. We got the Panzer 4 there. Regular arriving. Panzer 4, his command tank's going to need repairs. At the same time, Rasmus going over the Panzer on his Vetri 2. Armor falling back here. He's not going to risk it anymore. Panzer 4 moving ahead. More Pioneers at this stage. Not be a bad idea there for Jove to assist with the repairs. And also just the trophy loses one Pioneer squad. He's not completely, you know, a snot out of luck. But there you go. Jackson rolling ahead there. Straight at the Panzer 4. Dave's aggressive tactical attacks in this case working out quite nicely, preventing Jove there from further pushing ahead. MG42 set up there. Still no doctrine from Dave though. Sniper Pack 5 there getting some hits off there. Pack 40 they're being sniped out actually. Close to getting it, but not quite. They got Panzers moving from the north. In this case, a bit late for the party though, a bit late. Ooh, unit wiped. Dave there perhaps getting a bit bold, and in this case punished by Jove's Iron Fist. And there we go, wipe the Pack crew with the Panzer Grenadier. Another small victory there for Jove. Still needs more pioneers though. Of course, following up the Stuke here would also be pretty good. Trying for another Panther 4 could also work out if we sort of work them together. That could be pretty potent. Looks like Jove can't quite decide if he wants it to. He briefly considered pioneers. Now he's going for the Ostwind. I'd probably prioritise the tank destroyer and the Sherman over infantry right now. I mean, another Panther 4 Stuke here, I think with us would be a better choice for Jove. Alright, Jove really can't decide. He's actually in a indecisive spot here versus Dave. He's constantly shifting around. That indicates, you know, indecision. Again, Jove just can't quite decide what he wants. And now he's back to the pioneers, so that could be a definite edge that Dave could get a hold of if he sort of realises again that Jove isn't actually sure what he wants to do, or he just, you know, plays more aggressively. Now he's finally gone for a doctrine. He does go for the one he really likes, which is airborne. Probably also one of my most favourite American doctrines. Going for the paratroopers there. Bit short off from any upgrades yet, but he'll probably go for the light or the submachine guns first. The Thompson. 10 securing the southern points there. So things have equalised a lot more since, you know, the early half of the match there again, with Jove very much in the defence, where Dave just launched vicious assault after vicious assault. But now again, Jove is in a better position. He's going for Panther 6, so again he's worried about the armour. He's again sort of shifting towards that, but again I'm not sure I'd go for the Pentagonist for that. I generally just prefer more, you know, Stoops or Panzer Force rather than upgrading my Panther 6, because regular Pentagonist are just really good versus infantry. Rushing ahead the MD-42 there. Trying to get the Sherman. Pushing up machine, but there you go. Paratroopers flying away. Command Tango moves in. Looks like he's aiming for the light machine gun here. He could upgrade with submachine guns, but he's not. So I think here Dave wants the Browning light machine guns, which considering the map overall, I'm not sure on that one. I mean, it's much close quarters map there, so the submachine gun is pretty good, but Dave does seem to be in a light machine gun mood at the moment, and Joe finally just goes for another Panzer IV, and Dave does end up with a double Browning light machine guns, which definitely makes them pretty nasty customers as well. Plus, of course, gives them suppression fire, and that might ultimately be what he's aiming for. That way, being able to, you know, cut down some of Joe's infantry during a fight. Joe splitting up his armour and his forces here. Need to be a bit careful about that. Second Sherman away there for Dave and the first armoured. Got the rifle heading northwards there. Committees versus Riflemen. Taking losses there.
Tank support is here. Sherman ready.
Close hit, and there goes second Sherman out for Dave. And the second Panther IV for Jove, arriving more or less at the same time. Of course, Dave will getting a lot more fuel than Jove at the moment, 35 versus 20. It means Dave can get out tanks a lot faster than Jove. And there you go, Command Tank versus Jackson and the Sherman. We got the 8 rep rounds there, Panther X firing. Pack 40 is not well positioned. Got a big sweeping assault from the south here, catching Jove, I think, completely off guard. Who seems to be more expecting a northern attack. Command Tank goes down, Sherman down here. Panther X continuing versus the other. Sherman might be able to get it, but the Jackson is still a problem. Other Panther IV moving in, not enough into nearby support. Panther X there pushed back. Pearson's firing bazookas left and right, blending with him. Could wipe that. There go, bazookas dropped here. Jackson moves ahead here. Mortar crew about to get wiped. Pack 40 moving down. Panther IV's not in a good condition. Gunneries are trying to run for the bazooka. Firing up there close. Panther IV, they're about to get knocked out with the Jackson. Another Panther IV moving in there. Almost got this Jackson, but the Pack 4's also about to go down. Gunneries holding back there. Both Panther IV's down. Didn't get another Sherman or even the Jackson here. The Gunneries were too slow to move out. Again, didn't seize the bazooka there as they could have and turned against the Americans. Pack 40 wiped here. Got a second Sherman though. But, oh, there we go, suppressor fire, and the Pioneers quickly gaining the edge there. Nice work. That's why the paratrooper light machine gun upgrade is pretty damn good. Panther faster than the Jackson, almost got it. But if only he'd had a bazooka as well to go along with it, he probably could have finished off the Jackson right then and there. So rather devastating assault there for both sides, but ultimately Dave come out just slightly a bit ahead of there compared to Jove. He's still got his tank destroyer. He's still got his tank destroyer. And he's got more anti-infantry overall, whereas again Jove's now down to 2 Grenadiers and the upgraded Panzer Grenadiers. So Jove is in a not very happy position. I mean, the best he sort of could hope for is, you know, both Pack 40s got wiped. He can sort of take both of them back versus Dave, but that's about it. Dave, they're following up with another Sherman tank. More S-mines, well, the ones remaining there doing a bit of damage there to Dave's rifleman, his GIs. Another sniper there for Jove. He's really hoping to beat up Dave with those. He's got 19 kills in the first one. That certainly has an impact there on Dave. Might try and help just cause Dave to just try and rush them down and make mistakes in the process. But he's got one of the Pack 40s there to recruit. Sherman almost down there for Dave. Almost. Jackson sitting out there. Veteran to 2. I mean, Dave generally tends to sort of handle the Jackson very well. Certainly a lot better, I think, than most other players. Partly because, again, he just remembers to use the HVAC rounds. There you go. Smokescreen to cover versus snipers. Very nice getting to move there. Though it doesn't last too long either. But I think it lasts enough there for Dave's purposes. Just enough to grab the victory point and get the devil out of there. Still, Jove's got one Pack 40 ready here. The other one is yet to be recruited. Another push into the centre. Mortar wiped here. Dave certainly seems to be an aggressive attacker. And also has a nice sort of tactical sense of where things are. And just, you know, launches where he then suspects his things to be the weakest. And gets some pretty good damage in for that. Sniper moving down. They're very close to Veteran 3. Second sniper moving out. Rather than taking losses from the Grenadiers. You might need an incendiary explosive around here to have a chance to sort of level things versus the paratrooper and the lieutenant, because otherwise his units are in a lot of trouble. There you go, going for it. There you go, retreating, but right past the Sherman. And there's punch, might get the Sherman there. Grenade off though. So close there, so close. Sniper number 2 getting in there, paratrooper in trouble there. Ooh, close being wiped there. Very tense engagement there, but Joe was able to save it there through some very good micromanagement. Handling the situation there very deftly, and just getting a slight edge there as Dave was then forced to pull back. Sherman almost losing his paratrooper squad in the process. Another Panther 4 there for Job, another Panzerkampfwagen 4, second pack recruit as well now. That'll certainly just help there a lot there, as some of Dave's armour. Victory points wise they are practically equal there. Again, the Panzerjägers push forwards, but in this case, Riflemen are quick to cut off any advance there from Jove. Still, no one is bothered with the bazooka, not even the Pioneers. Veteran 3 snipers, Panzerjägers there gaining veterans. Here up north, another bit of harassment there from Dave's rowdy riflemen. Almost got the Panther 4 there ready. Sniper setting out, and there you go. Panzerkampfwagen 4 Gefechtsbereit. With a pinned up machine gun there rapidly being added. MD4 sitting out in the open there, but straight into the line of fire of the snipers. Lieutenant moving in there. Panzer moving ahead. Pack 40's Pioneers covering. Finished getting hit by a lot of firepower. And there you go, Lieutenant sent running. Pioneers getting Veteran 3. Oh, his gun is about to get wiped, I think. Annihilate, another loss there for Joe. Panther 4 taking hits from the Jackson. Pack 40 firing back, missing. And the South Panzer Grenadiers being suppressed and pursued. Not a good engagement there for Joe at all. Not a good engagement. Looking pretty critical there. Barely any infantry left now for Joe. He's relying partly, I think, primarily on the snipers right now to bleed them out. Mortar still not recruited either. Getting some hits in the Jackson, almost got it. Panther moving ahead, Patrick was in the way there. Jackson flanks about. Second Pack 40 here nearby. Doesn't quite hit it. Pack 40 wiped with the paratroopers here. And Jackson with Sherman escaped through the south. Very nice maneuvering there from Dave. Another punishing raid against Jove. With another Sherman away there for Dave. Again, he's just getting more resources than Jove, and that's just not really doing Jove any favours. Just not doing Job any favours. More Grenadiers there for Jove.
The capture point is being overrun.
And we got Raven hiding all the way up north here for Dave, ready to ambush anyone trying to hit the victory point. It looks like Joe is going to try and sort of go for a very aggressive push against CoH2. He's going to try and force Dave to, you know, have to defend or react to Joe's movements, hoping that way maybe we can sort of catch Dave off guard and cause some extra heavy damage there. But in this case, it looks like Dave's rather the one pulling that trick on Jove as he hits an attack here fully from the south there, getting behind then Jove's advance. And at the same time attacking here, and again he lacks the machine gun, sort of really halted. So again, there's some issues there for Jove. There are some issues. Pack 40 wiped in a matter of seconds, caught a negative cover. Got the CoH pump, was going to be being pinned down to the ground, other guys in trouble. Explosions going off there. Paratroopers doing what they can, they're gunning down the Pioneers, shredding them. While the Panzer doing a bit what they can. The Jackson going straight for it. They go with the 8-trap rounds. Panzerix flying away there. Can he get it? Can he get it? And the Panzers are pushed back. Their Panzer IV being pursued by double Shermans is calling in a Puma now. Sheer desperation now from Jove to somehow try and restore order to a crumbling front line. The Panzer almost done there, completely holding on, only with duct tape and fervent prayers to the fatherland. Well, he did get some of Dave's infantry, but the problem is Dave's just got so much armor now. And Jove doesn't, plus he doesn't have a lot of victory points left either. And there you go, Puma stranded and knocked out. GG, game over. A loss for Jove, a loss for the Panzerlehr, a victory for America, freedom and democracy. A brutal battle here again. Jove starting off a bit of awkwardly again. I would say his opening there was rather weak to American play. Again, no machine gun early on, then not heavy enough either. Factor in then again a slow tech there as well, just really sort of caused, I think, a perfect storm that really gave Dave a massive advantage in the early game. Jove was able to stabilise with mobile defence of the command tank, but promise afterwards there he was still struggling at some points. No mines went down, no really great counterattacks, whereas Dave just sort of constantly just sussed out whereas Jove was weak, punched through, did a lot of damage before pulling back, and while Jove was able to punish Dave at times, ultimately, slowly but surely, Dave was able to just get back a big advantage versus Jove, ultimately crushing Jove through those measures. So, I mean, really, Dave just keep on playing aggressively and just having a good tactical sense of the front line. That way, again, just knowing where to hit, and he hit hard. In that regard, Dave, sticks to, that good old saying from, Guderian is strike with a fist, not an open hand. And he really just clenched that fist hard before, striking Jove square at the jaw. So, I mean, really well played there with Germans. A good play from Jove as well. And he was able to, stabilise the situation, turn around. And I don't think the player could have done that. But it's certainly something there for sort of Joe again to be careful more with his openings versus the American players, in particular someone who's as sharp as Dave. So overall, hope you enjoyed this match. Hope you learned something from it. If you did, subscribe to your friends, share it with everyone. If not, send in a replay and provide some feedback in the comment section. And if you like what I do on a daily basis, do consider supporting, PayPal or Patreon. Others appreciated. Links in the video description. This is Imperial Legend. Cheers. Thank you all for watching. Hope to see you all tomorrow for another episode. Cheers.